right-of-way line was. That question makes sense?
Yes. In a perfect world, you're gonna measure from the center and measure out. However, I've got another case in another city where I'm dealing with a county right-of-way, and the roadbed is not even in the middle of the right-of-way, okay? Hopefully, we don't have that problem in Perryville, but, I wanna hedge on my answer. In a perfect world, you can measure from the center of the right-of-way out each side. Perfect world doesn't exist, so I can't say every road is that way, but that's what you hope for.
So that's why all the surveyors have been out then, right? They're determining where those lines are.
Exactly. Just because on paper, a right-of-way is a certain width, then whenever it comes time to build something, then we always have our engineer, I say always, almost always have our engineer go out and set that on the ground so that we know exactly where the right-of-way is and where the road needs to be or the sidewalks need to be before we get bulldozers and concrete trucks out there.
Okay.
Okay?
If I could add to that, Mr. Doty, please, this was a big field at one time owned by a farmer probably, no streets, no houses, anything. And typically what happens is a developer, I call it a developer, the person who will take this farmland and cut it up into squares, lots. And the right of way is what he sells, he puts on this drawing, public use right of way, and that's the way it comes about. The landowner that developed the subdivision dedicates that right of way to the public use. And that's how it becomes right of way.
Right, and that's gonna be at the time that they plat that subdivision?
Right.
Okay.
Elder Boss, 2604 North Parkview. A couple of years ago when this came up, I took a petition and went up and down Parkview. And there was not one person that wanted his yard dug up or didn't sign the petition. So I give it to Brown, at that time Brown was something with the city. And I guess he gave it to you, I don't know. But this person came to my house, sat in my kitchen on a chair and said, Alderman, nobody on Parkview wants sidewalks. It's canceled. I think that might have been you said that, wasn't it? And you lied to me.
Couldn't hear you, sir.
Pardon?
I didn't quite hear you. What was the question?
I said, what didn't you hear? I thought.
I heard
you
somebody
heard
sat in
my
your room.
stuff.
Was it me that sat in your room? Is that what you said?
That's right.
Yeah,
You don't remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
And you lied.
No.
You lied. And now I asked who's gonna put this stuff, about all my plants and everything, right? And you and Goose both said, get Rob Roy. Now, are you gonna keep that word, or can I have it in writing? I don't trust you. You lied to me once and you'll do it again.
Let me explain that. We had a different policy back then. What I told you at that time was what this board had said. We were not gonna put it in where if somebody didn't want it. But since then, that's all changed because we've got the mandate to come up with a plan to put these handicapped accessible. I did not lie to you. What I told you was the truth at that moment. But this is 2 years later.
What about this, putting things back?
I think it's, that's a board decision, but I think that's very appropriate. I think, if we had to get, Dave, go ahead and explain that, how you feel about that.
Are you gonna put it back?
What?
Is Rob Roy gonna get to put it back the way it was? That's what you said you were gonna do.
What I told you was, I didn't say Rob Roy, you get a landscape, Rob Roy or Keith
You
or
told me,
somebody.
Rob, you're lying again.
I didn't limit it to
You
Rob
and
Roy.
Booth both said Rob
No,
Roy.
I didn't say, I said a landscaper.
You can pick who
You can pick your landscaper.
You don't have to pick Rob Roy.
If Rob Roy does your work, then pick Rob Roy, but
That's right.
Yes, that's
That's
fine.
what I want. I don't want some guy.
that's
that
totally
won't
fine.
Go out to Walmart and get a $5 plant.
Yes, we're gonna pay for that.
Bag of mulch and throw it in there.
Yeah.
I want it the way I had it.
What I asked you to do, Mr. Baldwin, was get a landscaper and get a price and let me know what that is. and call me back and then we'll,
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing right now, it's gonna be in the thousands, it's not gonna be $100 bill.
yeah, I think it's a board issue, but I think it's I mean, Citizens Electric does it all the time. If they have to cut a tree down, that's in their right of way for their power lines, they'll put a tree back for you.
That's
They've
right.
done that for me.
That's right. They will.
And I think we should do the same. If we have to take a tree out, we should put one back somewhere. Maybe not.
What I'm saying, I got a holly tree that's probably 50 years old, it's probably worth $500-600. Now, you're not gonna put that back, you know? And same with, my Japanese maple, I got some 40-50 years old that I pruned constantly and shapen. And you're gonna get those and now. You don't wanna pay anything now.
Well, if the offer says that, you know, to get a landscaper, I think, and tell us what it's gonna cost, and we'll take a look at it, and I think if it's not unreasonable, we'll pay it. I
But
don't know
what do you call
unreasonable-
reasonable?
Well, I don't know, let's see what it is.
Say,
Well, a couple
say
thousand.
he says $10,000-12,000, then what?
Well, then you might have to get another bid, I don't know. But we're gonna do it right for you, but we wanna also protect, make sure it's done economically.
May I say something?
Sure.
I also contacted Aaron Rod, and he said it'd be a minimum of $12,000 to move our wall and our landscaping.
But again, you know, we're kind of ahead of the game, we don't even have the plans yet, so this all got started earlier than it should have, because, and you call the alderman, you call me, and that's the way it should work. But we need a final set of plans. And what the information I have now, your wall is not gonna have to be moved.
7 feet includes the wall.
Yeah, but your wall, 7 feet, you're right, yeah, it does, but I don't think Tom said the right of way varies, I think it's less. I don't think there's 7 feet from the curb at your place. But again, we don't know for sure. Nearest I can tell, whatever it takes to get it done, if we have to move the wall, I think we'll take a look at it.
Also, the steps will have to be moved.
We do that quite often, we redo steps a lot.
At some point, I want that in writing.
I do too, I want something in writing.
Certainly.
Another thing, when we were there, I said, why do you have to come in so far? He said, oh, we're gonna have a safety strip out there. Now, what is a safety strip a foot wide? Nobody knows whether to put plants in there, gravel, or what, it's just none. And you think when a car comes over the curb, that safety strip is gonna save your life? And I looked yesterday, when I left the house, when going South Main, there might be one or two shards places, not one, that have a safety strip. And after you get to St. Joe Street on the square and you can go all the way out to Highway 51, and there is no safety strip. Now, are you gonna dig this up and put a safety strip in there? You've got so much money to what you're talking.
Well, the safety strip, you know, we've talked about that a lot too, and if you know, the post office now delivers mail into a box on your porch. They're not gonna do that, and if you go to some of our newer subdivisions, you'll see mailboxes in every house, right next to the curb. So we wanna keep a space in there for the mailboxes, for the fire hydrants, stop sign, all those utilities that need a space, otherwise you got all that in a sidewalk, which defeats the purpose of the sidewalk.
Now, when you go up the street across from my house, you put this new sidewalk in. When you get up to the end, I said, what are you gonna do when you get up there? You said, oh, we put a crosswalk in. There's more people get hit crossing the street than going up the side. And that is a bad place for a crosswalk. It's right in the curb, and kids after school, they come flying through there 50 miles an hour. And this
Well, we've got good design standards.
solid stream of,
Yeah,
pedestrians and wheelchairs that come, they're gonna, and across the street from there, the Steele's house. So the curb goes straight down.
Mr. Baldwin, could we, why don't you give me a call tomorrow and I'll come out there and look at all that instead of taking, taking up the time here with those.
But anyway, I told Donna what you're gonna do. You just said, oh, we're gonna put a wall there, cause it goes straight down. We gotta build a wall. Well, her house, that's right out almost to the street.
Again, we don't have the plans finished yet, but when we get done, I'll assure you it'll be done correct, safely, in a good design. We don't have any of that finished, so we're a little ahead of the game here on that. Thank you, sir.
So you got a bunch of angry people who want to tell you.
Well, I'm sorry, I hope
We've
not.
lost a lot of friends since we ever had it.
So anyone else?
Yep. Tell them.
Robin Roy, 301 Maryland. First of all, who's gonna pay for removing them to start with? And then replacing it back after the sidewalks?
What was the question?
To remove the plants or our landscaping, who's gonna remove that?
Again, let's wait till we see what the plans are. We don't really know yet.
So
We're
we're-
getting ahead of ourselves.
If this is gonna be done, I have a drain thing between me and Evelyn, which is too high. I got a river that runs through there already. If there's a sidewalk put in, it's gonna cut my wall off that has my gutter drain to it, which is gonna create a bigger flood in my backyard.
I will assure you that will not happen. We've got good designs, and we've never made that happen. We have stormwater issues. We always take care of that as we go through
Okay.
the process.
I could see the money being spent somewhere like the dog park for handicapped people and the elderly that wanna take their dogs to the dog park. Right now, you have to park off of Hoover Road and walk through that football field to even get to a sidewalk. Or pull behind the armory and park along there in the gravel and get on the sidewalk. The elderly or handicapped can't even hardly take their dog there because they're worn out by the time they get there. I think that's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you, ma'am. Excuse me. Anyone else?
I want to make one more comment, Ken. I just want everybody here to understand that when you use the term, our policies have changed. You changed them. The federal government didn't change them. You were not mandated to change them. You may be mandated to change them on new construction and so forth. But on the 50-year-old street, I'm pretty sure the ADA and Big Brother up there probably hasn't really got his nose in that business. The decision to put sidewalks up against our wall, or to even have to move the wall, is a decision made by the Board of Aldermen in this room, against the will of the people.
Not against the will of the people, but you're right. It was a decision.
Wait a minute.
As I told you,
Huh? I don't think we got many people disagreeing with me.
How many people got that city survey?
We never got the survey.
How could that be?
They mailed it to every resident, we gave them the billing list, we gave them,
You didn't give us nothing.
anybody else?
No, it wasn't.
That's
We got nothing.
Jerry Carroll, 302 Dowling Drive. Currently, I'm not in this situation. A lot of things I've heard here this evening I agree with, and a lot of things I don't. My first question is, this mandate, whose mandate is it?
Federal government.
Pardon?
Federal government?
Federal government.
Disabilities Act?
No, it's
Okay.
not.
That's a federal mandate
Yeah.
No, it's not.
to put new sidewalks in on all the streets.
It's a mandate, what I said was, it's a mandate that all public facilities have to be handicap accessible. We have to have a plan, an executed plan, to make all public facilities handicap accessible.
Do you have a survey on how many handicapped people walk up our street? Or down our street? This whole thing could have been resolved a little bit, and Larry, I'm disappointed in you, and Tom, I'm disappointed in you. I did not have either one of you, and you were my alderman for my community. Nobody has ever called me, stopped by, and asked my thoughts or opinion before this plan goes through. Ken, I'm like Elmer over there, you have personally told me that I do not have to have a sidewalk. I have 175 feet on North Parkview, and you're gonna stop at Jenny, but I'm gonna be the next guy on the list, maybe 2 or 3 down the road, I don't know, but it's coming. You turn the sidewalk up there on Schindler Road toward Dowling and stop it right there, but it's got a curve in it and a cutoff, so there can be the sidewalk coming down Dowling to the north on my street. Now, I probably won't live long enough to see that happen. I really think all of you as aldermen, your word is your word. And if you don't have integrity, how can we believe in our local government officials? We're having a hard enough time right now with our state and federal officials. Having integrity. If a man's word is not his word, I don't know what else to say. I agree with Mr. Maxwell. I see his daughter every day. I drive my granddaughter to school. She doesn't go to PHS, she goes to St. Vincent's. Right around the corner, your daughter walks across the yard, and she comes to the most dangerous spot in our neighborhood, South Parkview. And you're right, people run through that stop sign all the time. People come down North Parkview, the younger people, get this prime time of year, and they ramp the street at Jenny.
Yep.
Ramp it. And I'm talking 60, 70 miles an hour. I have personally stood down there with a goddamn golf club. I'll just smack the crap out of them. They come through here. One that's been complained about, there's been one day in the last 5 years, there's been a police officer who sat on that corner for one day. That's it. You don't need a crosswalk there. We don't need a sidewalk. We have a wide street, and Evelyn's right. We have a wide street, and there's not that many people on the thing. Not that many people park on our street. Everybody has driveways. If you need to fix a street, fix Hart Street between Edwards and State Street. My grandson has to walk down Spring Street, go into PHS, and he runs out of sidewalk, and the street is 20 feet wide. Now, when you go spread that out and put a sidewalk where the guy who lives there on the corner won't be able to get in his garage because he won't have any place to pull in. He'll have no driveway left. This should have been approached by talking to the people in the community before this mandate. There's a federal mandate that they have to be ADA sidewalks. There's no Perryville mandate that we have to put them in. And you told me I did not have to have a sidewalk. That was 2 years ago, fine. So somewhere, Perryville changed their mind, the Board of Aldermen, the mayor, that we will just ignore the past of what we've said we would do. This country is $24 million in debt. Is there a grant coming along to put these sidewalks in from the state or federal government?
No, I told you that before. It's all local money.
All local money. So people over on Walnut Street have to pay for a sidewalk in front of my house or down the side of my house, who will never use it. It doesn't make any sense. There's places in Perryville who we need sidewalks. The ones you did on Edgemont, I grant you, I agree. That was a great place to put them. There's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of kids who walk to school. I see them all the time. Every morning I see them, a lot of them. You don't see that in my neighborhood. There isn't a child, except Mr. Maxwell's daughter is the only one in my entire neighborhood who walks to school. Occasionally I have some people walk down Dowling and go to Mr. Edwards' house for a piano lesson.
Yeah, and I would tell you that's probably because they don't feel safe walking in the street. As you explained, they feel like
That is absolutely nonsense.
Okay.
Absolutely
Okay,
nonsense.
thank you, Terry. I think you've had your 3 minutes. Anyone else?
They're gonna be up there on it.
Done deal.
We're just wasting our time, boys. The mandate's been set here, it's not been set by the federal government. I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
Well, I think we owe it to see the plan first. I think
There is no plan.
when the plan materializes, then
The plan is already set by the city, they're gonna do what they wanna do, we don't count. Happy citizens don't count, good citizens don't count, happy people don't count, but the government counts.
Would you
when
please,
it
would
wants
you
to.
carry this conversation on outside? I think we're gonna close this part of the meeting, if you don't mind.
Just close it completely, close it for me too.
You're welcome to stay, but we're gonna move on to item number 3, which is a public hearing for a request from Mr. Steve Keller to rezone 1713 Perryville Boulevard from R1 residential to C2 commercial. Open the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the board regarding that public hearing? Seeing no one rising, we'll just close that public hearing. Move on to item number 4, county clerk administers oath of office to city administrator Beard to serve on Missouri Department Development Finance Board as appointed by Governor Parson.
This is that board I was put on, and only a couple people can do it, or notary public or the county clerk, so I asked Jared to do it, if you guys don't mind.
Please raise your right hand. I, Brent Barrett,
I, Brent Barrett,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and that I will faithfully demean myself
and that I will faithfully demean myself
in the office of Missouri Development Finance Board Director.
in the office of Missouri Development Finance Board Director,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
You gonna keep your humility?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it here, because it's really more about the city being represented than me. Thank you guys for letting me do it.
Thank you, Mr. Coots, for coming up here. Would you like to say a few words? Honorable Commissioner?
I came up here to witness this.
Thank you very much.
Aaron informed me he was gonna do this, and so I want to come up and witness this.
Thank you for your presence. We're honored to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Do you have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Second.
Moved and second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 15, discussion regarding House Bill 1319 federal COVID relief.
This is still coming into play and becoming more clear, guys, but I wanted you to get at least what we know. MML's been giving some advice. The county shared some guidance from the National Association of Counties. But it appears that the county's gonna get $3.7 million, and then we shared the city is expected to get $1.5 million. I don't know much more beyond that. I think it just showed up one day in the county treasury. I'm assuming it works fairly similar this time. The state will get it. They have 60 days, I think, to pass it down. There's pretty strict guidelines on what it can be used for, COVID relief. We didn't use that the first time when the county had that. We were able to cover our own stuff. Water, sewer, infrastructure projects is another place it can be used. I have a couple new handouts that I got today. I'll give you guys as well for your reading pleasure later. The parts I underlined were the key highlights that I was able to find. The back of that document, fellas, is actually all Missouri cities, I believe, as I remember. And that just helps you if you're curious on where else it's going. And then the second document was put out by Regional Planning, and it's more located here, specific to the municipalities around us. So as we learn more, you guys will learn more. I just wanted you to know what was happening, and we'll keep telling you as we know.
Yep.
That's it.
Any questions, gentlemen? I didn't quite have time to read it in that. Moving on to item 16, bill number 6134, ordinance number 6352, amending the city budget fiscal year 2020 21, second reading and final passage.
Move for second reading.
Second.
An ordinance approving amendments to the 2020-21 budget as originally approved on the 17th day of March 2020 by revising, confirming, and updating end-of-year balances, confirming budgetary expenditures, and repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith. The rest by reference.
Move for final passage.
Second.
Burek. Guth. Hudson. Martin.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Schumer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays.
Item 17, bill number